Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Today's guest is the lead singer of the indie rock band The Trusted. His name is Tom Cunningham. Welcome to the show, Tom. How you doing?
How you going, man? You all right?
Very good, very good. I'm very excited to have you on the show. I've been following you guys for quite some time on TikTok, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But firstly, I just kind of want to delve straight into how you first got into music, because I think that what you guys are doing is pretty interesting as far as who your influences are. There's a few other people, even people I've had on the show before, who were kind of inspired by that early 2000s vibe, but it's not something that you see a lot. And I don't know, I kind of feel like you're onto something with here, but what's your kind of like musical journey? How did you kind of get into this initially?
So for me personally, it's been like a lifelong thing. I come from quite a musical family. My parents actually can't play any instruments, but they're like, especially my dad, he's a big music nerd. And so growing up, I was kind of injected with lots of different things. And so for me, like I've been surrounded by it my entire life. And the big point for me, I used to perform a lot when I was a little kid. So when I was like 2 or 3 years old, I was obsessed with the movie, the Blues Brothers movie. I was obsessed with it. Like, I loved that film. I used to dress up as the Blues Brothers and perform in the front room. It was like my thing. And then when I was 7, I was taken to see Pete Gabriel.
Oh wow!
Which I know. Oh. And I remember I was like second row, and I remember I was about 7 years old, and I remember coming out that gig and going, "That's what I wanted. I want to do that," and that was it. And so I started getting. I couldn't sing at all. Still can't sing, but we're getting there. And then I got some singing lessons and just kind of started working my way in that way, really. And I've been doing music ever since, gigging and playing. And I got into my first band when I was about 12 at school. Mm-hmm. And I've just been in bands ever since. And then the Trusted, the band that I'm in at the moment, we formed in 2016. Oh, wow. So it's been us four since 2016. So, but yeah, so I've been surrounded by music my entire life. And I was exposed to David Bowie very early on and The Who very early on. And so it kind of goes all the way back with me. And yeah, it's just my entire life I've been surrounded by great noises, so it's hard not to.
It's quite interesting to me where The Trusted is at the moment, because by all intents and purposes, and don't take this the wrong way, when I first saw you guys sort of popping up on TikTok and stuff, I thought, okay, this band's just come together, like it's just like a sort of new thing. This shows you should never assume things. But I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, cool. So that these guys have come together, they're trying to do something new. But if you've been gigging since 2016, then and writing music, are you kind of like holding back on? Because I know you've got a record out now. Is it a full length or an extended play?
We've got a few EPs out. We've released about 3 EPs. We've not released an album as of yet.
Okay, so are you holding out then to get like a deal, or are you looking to do it independently?
The honest answer is we don't know. I think what happened, we kind of formed late 2016, and we did about 2 years of like constant gigging, and we've just been releasing singles. Then, and for us in this day and age, like singles and EP and shorter forms of content are more effective. And we feel like we'd only release an album if we felt the circumstances were right, whether that's independently or not. It's all down to where we are in terms of what if we want to release an album, we're ready to make a statement of that size, and we think at the moment we're not ready to do that just yet. But that that could change tomorrow. That could change in 10 years. Who knows? It's one of those things, It
is a very interesting point, because I'm seeing a lot of major artists doing the same thing. Like, I mean, sometimes frustratingly so. Like, I'll see someone like I don't know. I'm a big fan of Mac DeMarco, for example, and he'll just throw random stuff out, not doing anything, and I'm like, come on, man! But you desperately want them to, and that's good. It speaks a lot to having like a fandom and stuff. But sometimes I wonder if gone are the days of a full album, because obviously when we were growing up, it was quite a common thing. Like your album was essentially telling a story. You know, I think back to, for example, just off the top of my head, you may recall Red Hot Chili Peppers released a double album in, I think, like 2005 or something. For those who don't know, like, it had songs on it like Dali California and a few others, but like that was a whole thing that you'd get in one go, you know, which sounds insane, like 24 songs all in one. Like it's unheard of. Like when you compare it to now, where you'd be lucky to even get, you know, 4 songs.
I think it's like one extreme or the other. Like some people, they release really small things like singles or EPs, or like stupidly long albums, like really long albums. You look at like the 1975 released an album about 2 years ago now. Their last album, it was like 22 tracks long. And then a Big Thief just put an album out that's like 20 tracks long, and Drake put an album out that was like, you know, I think it was like over 18 tracks or something like that. But I think like, so it's either that or small. You're not getting many like, you know, standard like 10-song albums as much anymore, I don't think. I think it's either like singles or just like gigantic Lord of the Rings size albums, you know.
Do you sort of think you're still creating your sound? Like, I know that might sound like a really obvious question, but like, as soon as I listened to a few of your songs, for some reason straight away what I heard was Muse. Like, I don't know why, maybe it's the bass line, that could be that, and also just as I sort of mentioned earlier, like that early 2000s kind of vibe, where for those who don't know, sort of in I would say in the early, let's say from 2002 to about 2005, there were just maybe like the last kind of revival of UK rock. And then after that it kind of dissipated, and you know, now we're all just kind of hoping for a rock comeback. But that was kind of like the last hurrah for a lot of rock bands, at least in the UK. So are you trying to kind of do like a revival with that, or are you just trying to experiment? Like, what's the mission?
It's a strange one, because we're kind of, first point, the Muse thing, our lead guitarist is like the world's biggest Muse fan. He's like obsessed with them. So like, you know, that kind of seeps in. I think in terms of like style, we're kind of, I don't know, we're so close to the band. We're all 4 of us have got our heads kind of in the ground with it. And I think like we don't quite know what we're doing. We're kind of just like making the music that we want to hear ourselves. We've got hundreds of demos, and we've got songs that kind of really span the sort of genre, and we're kind of a bit all over the place. And I think in this day and age as well, you find a lot more bands and artists are kind of doing this kind of maximalist approach to music, where they're kind of releasing EPs or albums where the styles change within the album and in between each song. I think that's quite an interesting way to go, and I think that's kind of influenced a lot from sort of what hip hop does, because hip hop, especially modern hip hop, is kind of very much, it's even though it's hip hop, it's kind of genreless in that it takes bits from like rock, bits from jazz, bits of, you know, bits of like funk and reggae, and kind of mix it together, you know, through like sampling or through live instruments. And I think I'm noticing sort of rock and pop acts kind of taking a leaf out of that book and doing the same thing. So for us, you know, we're into everything, you know, and I think what Spotify has done and streaming has allowed us to do is it's given us access to like every song under the sun, like, at our fingertips. And it means that, you know, we're getting bombarded with all these different sounds and styles all the time. And I think that really has had an effect on how we make music. So it's like, you know, even though it's rock, it's at the core, it's rock music. It's, you know, it's indie rock music. But I think like it's still quite, you know, flimsy, and it's kind of a bit all over the place and chaotic. And I think that's like kind of like the new rock and roll. It's kind of like music that's kind of hasn't really got a home. And that's kind of what we're doing, really. We're just making whatever comes into our head. And whether that, you know, and it's still us, it's still my voice. It's still got the same sort of like characteristics, but it's not like completely glued in one place. That's kind of what we want to do, really.
So you mentioned earlier you had kind of like 2 solid years of gigging, sort of from 2016 to about 2018 onwards. So then I guess you took a little bit of a break there, and then obviously pandemic hit. Now things are sort of beginning to return to normal. So where are you guys at with regards to that? Like, we'll get to TikTok in a second, but I just kind of want to know what the plan is kind of with you guys as of right now, because I've seen that you've got these touring dates in the UK. You know, you're being active across all fronts, but where are your sort of heads at right now with regards to everything?
I mean, I guess it's like the more you look at the plan, the more complex it gets. But if you look at the core of the plan is just like to reach as many people as we can and kind of bring people on board with what we're doing. And obviously when COVID hit, we were born a live band. Before we went to the studio recording anything, we played live tons first. And I still think to this day we are a live band. That is where we live. We live on stage, and I think we're the best when we're live. And so it was weird when the pandemic hit. That was taken away from us. We had to kind of adapt. But I think like now we've come out the other end. I think the plan at the moment is to get back out there, back on the road, back playing gigs again, and just keep building. Really, for us, it's like I think in this day and age, it's just about building and building and building, slowly building over time. We have this kind of weird thing in our heads about how to make it. It's pretty down to like watching all the films and documentaries where like this guy's in the bar and he's playing one song, and then suddenly like an A&R man walks in and goes, oh, yeah. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh look, we're playing fucking the main stage at Wembley. But I think like, and everyone gets kind of sold that idea of how it works. But I think you start to realise the best way to do it is to build slowly and just find new ways of getting your music out there. Now, getting your music out there is hard enough as it is because there's so much noise. So you've got to kind of use every tool at your disposal to kind of push things forward. And so like we used to do live was our main thing. Now we've got all these other things at our disposal as well. So for us, the plan is just to build and reach people. And however we do that, we'll do that. It's just about building.
This leads us quite nicely into a segue with regards to TikTok. I mean, that's probably a massive. I mean, I've been really impressed, I must say, with how you guys have used it. I have a couple of questions with regards to this, but firstly, I guess what I want to know is, overall, would you say it's been kind of a good resource for you and in general for musicians? Because a lot of the musicians I've had on the show have kind of mixed opinions on this. I have mixed opinions too. I mean, for example, on the negative side, some people say like they don't want to kind of be like a TikTok band per se. But then other people just see it as, hey, you know what? You get your face out there, you get your music out there, it gets recognized. And of course, as we know, songs that go viral tend to be used on apps like TikTok. That tends to be how they, even sometimes really, really old songs. Like there was one song from like the early 2000s that suddenly picked up a bunch of traction. I think it's like some American band.
All the time, yeah, it's loads of old songs.
Yeah. But for you, I mean, what are your kind of thoughts on TikTok for musicians?
So, one of my good friends who's not a musician was an early adopter of TikTok, not making TikTok, just viewing TikToks. And I remember like seeing the adverts of TikTok right back in like sort of 2019 when it was just starting to kind of, pick up. And I was a bit like, what is this? And then I think in sort of like early 2020, I was still thinking like, this is not really suitable for what we're doing. It still felt like a kind of kids app. It felt like an app for like people to either dance or like, kids to like react to getting a dog. And I was like, But then I started to notice more and more bands using it. And our drummer was like, we got to get on TikTok. And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going on TikTok. Like, I'm not a comedian. I'm not a dancer. It's just, what am I going to do? And in the end, it got to the point where it was like, it's unavoidable. And then I got on there, and for us, it's been brilliant. Like, it's like we've found so many new fans through TikTok, and our listens on all the streaming platforms have like gone, been boosted massively, and it's really reached a lot of people. And the way I rationalize it with TikTok is, so if you pretend that sort of like pop music starts with the Beatles and Elvis in like the 50s and 60s, right? So we've had like a good like 60, 70 years of like, modern day pop music. everyone knows how bands work. Everyone's seen the whole, like, you know, cool posing, everyone should be mysterious and cool. We've all seen that. So you can't fool people anymore. People know how it works. People know that the mystery band thing doesn't work anymore. We've seen it, we've done it. So again, to me, the new way to be authentic is just to be completely honest and completely, like, take the makeup off. And all the stuff we do on TikTok is, first of all, it's all ironic. Every single TikTok we make is completely ironic. It's all built on a sense of, like, irony. We're not only are we taking the mickey out of being a musician, but also taking the mickey out of ourselves and the whole thing. And I think, like, all the jokes we make are jokes that we make as a band between each other. So we're just doing what we do in a rehearsal room, but on a bigger scale, like in front of more people. And so that's how I rationalize it. I'm just being ironic and just showing everyone, like, what we are. And I think it's a great tool. I think it's brilliant. And I think I love TikTok. And I've got my gripes with it. Like, I think, you know, sometimes, you know, the reach, and it's a bit Wild Westy in terms of the reach. Like, sometimes, you know, you spend hours making something and it's seen by like 3 people. And other times you spend like 8 seconds on a video and it's seen by like 8 quadrillion people. But when it works, it's fantastic. And it evens the playing field, because you've got like bands like Radiohead on there and U2 on there, and they're getting the same engagement as we are in terms of, like, you know, we look at, they're getting, like, you know, 3,000 views on this video, and we're getting 3,000 views on this video, and getting the same amount of likes and comments. It's like, it's even the playing field, because TikTok doesn't care who you are. It only cares about the content you're making. And for us, and I've just found it's been a useful tool to kind of, like, we just use TikTok as a tool. It's a tool to get our music out there. That's all it is for us. It's not, we don't want to be TikTok whatever. It's just another way to push the songs, because, you know, people, you know, I can do every video and put a trusted song underneath it and do video. And if, like, you know, 3,000 people view it and 10 people go, that's a good song, that's 10 new people who listen to our song. And if you do that every single day, for us, it's been great. It's been great. It actually, for us, it's worked. It's working.
Yeah, I must say, I've been really, really impressed with how you guys have used it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why I fell in love with what you were doing, the comedy, you know, like, I've been in bands over the years and I've been a musician all my life, so I can relate to all of that stuff. Yeah. And I'm just in stitches the whole time. Like, it's all, like, especially the videos about, you know, crowd interaction and how, like there was one I was just looking at before I came on, and I was just like, yeah, the singer does do that. And I think I did that a few times. Cringe.
Everyone does it. Everyone does every single thing. We all do it. We just don't talk about it.
It's weird. The funniest bit is like, because it's funny, like, how these things are now becoming like memes, but they've been memes for years. Like, you know, like shouting, and, you know, you shout in the crowd, and it's like, that's one thing if you're, you know, I don't know, Queen at Wembley. But if you're just like some band that no one's ever heard of, and you're like, what does everyone want? Yeah. And then just silence, crickets. Maybe one guy in the front row. Yeah.
I've been to some big gigs before and seen some pretty people shout out, everyone all right? And everyone's like, oh. Like, I think that can apply to bands playing in front of no one to bands playing in front of thousands of people. I've seen big acts and everyone clap your hands. Everyone's like, not really.
Do you know what?
It never changes.
I think there's a country divide thing, because I don't know what it is about the UK, but we have a great sense of humor. I'm just going to, you know, I'm critical about our country sometimes, but I'm also very fair. And when it comes to our sense of humor, we are amazing. And especially when it comes to things like this, like, it's just like,
satire is our speciality.
It's like, you could be huge in America, you could be huge in Germany, but you come here, and if we don't like you, we'll be like, shut up, you prick.
We don't care. It's so good.
But yeah, just bring it back to TikTok for a second. I think it's a really basic tactic, but it's clever. And it was also what led me on to actually sitting down and listening to your music properly. It's just the repetitious nature of continuously using a sound.
Exactly.
You know, like, and not just, that's the thing, not just musicians, but I think it's kind of got me thinking a lot about, like, why do songs become successful? Why do they become as well renowned or liked by people. And I think it comes down to somewhat to a repetitious nature. If you keep listening to a song and you just like something in it, like for example, you guys have a song called Velocore, and everyone should go check it out. It's a very, very good song. Something about maybe the chorus, or I don't know, maybe just it's like a very basic thing in that I've heard similar songs before to this style, but like I just keep listening to it because I don't know, it's addictive in that sense. And I think that's what makes well, I mean, it's subjective, but like generally speaking, you know, like the most successful songs, it's because you want to continuously listen to it because, you know, there's something in it that keeps hooking you. Maybe it's that chorus, maybe it's a particular riff, whatever. Yeah. And I think you've done like a very good job of doing that. You know, it's not like, I think that's why people like you as well. It's not just, oh, hey, we're another band trying to sell our stuff. It's like you have fun with it. You take the mick out of yourself. You create good content, which is arguably sort of the point of TikTok. And I think that's what makes you more likable and why people are more willing to support you. Because it's like, okay, this person's or this band are trying really hard. I'll give them a chance. And when they do, they discover a treasure trove.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, well done on that. Oh, another thing which kind of leads me into sort of a new topic, I suppose. Obviously, off camera, you kind of mentioned that, you know, you're sort of quote unquote, like I suppose, like the leader of the band. And I know this is sort of an area of contention for some bands, but
I'll get murdered later.
As it pertains to kind of like being the voice of the band, you know, every band has one. Sometimes bands have two. For example, Metallica has two. It's always been Lars Ulrich, really, but you know, every band has that person. And I guess this is a twofold question. One, I'm quite interested in knowing what the dynamic of the band is, because yes, while you might be the person speaking, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're the leader. And sometimes it's a democracy, sometimes it's one or two people, etc. So that's my first question to you. But my second question to you, which is linked to this, as it pertains to the TikTok content and what you're doing there, you mentioned before, I think you said your drummer was the one who was kind of pushing you to do this because it was good sort of business-wise. Are you sort of the main one coming up with the content? Is it kind of like, do you decide as a band? Does everyone kind of throw ideas? Like, what's the deal there?
Okay, so the first question, we, as a band, we're very much a democracy. So there's, even though I like to think I'm the leader, I'm not. There's all four of us are very much, you know, all the songs are written by the four of us together.
Oh, awesome.
We're very much, you know, a band of brothers, and we've been that way since the start. And that was our first thing when we started the band up. And on the first day, we were like, we're going to be, everything we do is going to be 25%. Everything's going to be the four of us. We're going to be a band. We're not going to be, you know, this person. It's going to be like the trusted as one thing, which is quite ironic because now only I'm here. You know? but because, you know, we've all got like roles within the band, like and I think I've always been the one. There's a lot of, I'm like the spokesman. I'm like I'm the press secretary of the trusted. And you know, and so but it's weird. In real life, I'm really shy, like painfully shy. I really struggle socially. But when it comes to band stuff and talking about band stuff and doing stuff like this and making content, that's where I feel more comfortable. And especially, and we've got quite a good following locally, like quite a good following locally, and a lot of people around here know us now. But it's sometimes it's quite hard for me because they see the content, or they see, you know, stuff like this, or they see us live and they see me, you know, doing all this sort of stuff, and they meet me in real life. I'm not quite quiet, and they think I'm being arrogant, but I'm not arrogant. They think I'm being like, I'm high-minded, but I'm not. I'm just really shy. And so I get a lot of like, you know, oh, he's arrogant, but I'm not. I'm just shy. But this is easier. But this is just my role in the band, where it's like, you know, our bass player is more sort of business side of stuff, and our drummer's more like, you know, a tech sort of side of stuff. Like, you know, our guitarist more like riffs and that. So we've all kind of got our own little thing. And the second question about content, content's pretty much me, a lot of it, because as the boys, if I run a TikTok, but I'm gonna run it. Let me do it.
Okay.
And I think with something like that, it's like because you want to be consistent every day, all the time. You can't be held back with like all the other band decisions take a while, like songwriting now, it's very much like, you know, you got to like go backwards and forwards. But when it comes to like doing stuff daily, like social media, like Instagram, Facebook, it's better just to have one person kind of going like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, do this, do this. And they're fine with it. I mean, we throw ideas at each other, like, you know, we're always throwing TikTok ideas, and that's fine. But I'll just get on and do it. I'm doing that because like, for me, it's like it's got to be done, and I'll just do it, and I'm comfortable doing it. I can do it quickly. So yeah, it's just about efficiency, really, and so that's why I was like, you know, the one to do that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad I asked, because it makes sense, doesn't it? Sometimes, like, it's a lot easier to just kind of go, okay, you'll run this side of things, you'll run this side of things. I can think of bands in the past that I've been a part of where sometimes I think it would have been easier if we'd all just picked a role and just stuck to it. But, you know, it's difficult sometimes when you want to kind of be involved with everything, and sometimes you have to learn to just make it as fully split as you can, just to kind of make it easier and fairer, to be fair.
Other bands do have one person doing everything, and that's completely fine. It just depends on how you want to work. Like, this is the way we've done it. You know, it's very much, you know, the trust is the four of us. It's always been the four of us, and we just do our thing in our own way.
So, have you noticed, since you've kind of had a bit of success on TikTok, and you're getting more attention, you're getting more people looking at you and viewing you and stuff, have you noticed, like, when you go to play shows, are there sort of generally more people than there were before, like sort of people going out of their way? Like, talk to us a little bit about what TikTok has done for you guys as a band overall.
Well, the first thing is obviously like how it's transferred over. So TikTok, you know, our Spotify has gone up, our daily listeners have gone up, and you know, people listening to our song, the streams have gone up. And then obviously going to stuff like Instagram, we've had a lot of people like find us on Instagram and message us and start following us on there, because our Instagram is more focused on the music and the band itself, whereas TikTok's more like just general, just nonsense. And they come over there, you know, you get people go like, they find us on TikTok and go, oh, this is really funny. Oh, I quite like this song. And they click on the link, go to Instagram and go, oh, cool. And they start, you see them, they start, you watch it happen. You see this person comment here, then you see him follow you on Instagram, and suddenly you get the notification of him like liking a laugh. And then respond to stories like, okay, we've got this person out in the...
We got them.
Exactly. They're ours now. And so there's that. And then shows, definitely. We've not done that many. Obviously, last year we didn't do that many shows at all for obvious reasons. But our last big show, we did a show for BBC Introducing in November. And yeah, it was rammed. It was great. And people were there to see us. A lot of people were there to see us than normal. Damn. So we're noticing locally as well, like it's having an effect here as well. But it's not just TikTok. I think as well as just you keep putting songs out, and over time building other stuff as well. That stuff people come with that as well. But I think TikTok has kind of helped us reach places we wouldn't be able to reach. It's just really cool because, like, you know, even now this whole podcast we're doing right now, like, this wouldn't happen if TikTok wasn't there. You know, you found us. We might have done another, but you found us through TikTok. Mm-hmm. And so it just shows you what TikTok can do. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what's really cool. Like, you know, I'm sitting here now because of TikTok.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's been quite a few guests I've actually found through TikTok. Like, I don't always use it as a resource, I suppose, for finding guests, but I have done, and it's generally worked quite well in that regard. And
non-stick pans on Peter on a few months ago from the non-stick pans.
Yes, yeah. I did. Yeah,
it's weird. I've been following him for a while, so I love his content as well. I think he's fantastic. He's so funny. And he's so intelligent. He's so bright. And he's really talented. And he's a great songwriter. And like, obviously, you saw you talking to him. I watched that podcast. That was really interesting. I listened to that.
Oh, cool.
I found it interesting in hearing like his thoughts on things, which is really cool. So yeah, it's great. And obviously now, and then he found us. So I've been following him for a while, and he found us, and he started following us. And it's like, oh, great! I can't believe it.
Awesome.
He's following us. It's amazing. But yeah, so that's what's so great about TikTok, is stuff like that happens, you know.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the live music scene in Essex. Obviously, you mentioned that you played BBC Introducing East. So that's awesome. Congratulations. But in terms of sort of your live music scene in Essex, I know sometimes it can change every sort of 5-10 years, and the complexion of it can change. But what's it saying right now? As you said, you got like a little bit of a following there, but what are the other bands like? What's the area like? Like, is it buzzing? Is it not? Tell us a bit about that.
It is incredible. Like, I can't explain it. Like, Southend, where we're from, this small seaside town, well, city now. This place is it's bubbling with bands and artists. It's so cool. There's so much. Obviously, we've had bands like Nothing But Thieves, obviously, from Southend, and the Horrors.
Cool.
And obviously, Depeche Mode up the road in Basildon came from Essex as well. But locally, like now, there's so many great acts coming through, and there's a real scene here at the moment. There's so many great bands and artists who are really doing some really impressive things. And so it's really healthy, and it's great for us because you go out there and you really feel it. There's a lot of places, a lot of bars, respectable bars and venues that are kind of putting on these music nights and nurturing talent. And it's, you know, we've been around, you know, the country and stuff, and, you know, there's some great scenes, but there's something really special here. And it's really, over the last few years, it's really been brewing. Ever since sort of like 2014, it's kind of been building and building. And it's, at the moment, it's really healthy. And it's creatively, it's great because it's really inspiring. And it's nice to know we've got all these different bands kind of bounce off as well. So yeah, it's fantastic. Really, really cool.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm just going to fire some random questions at you here. I try to always have like a little bit of a narrative, but sometimes, hey, it just goes like this. What are the best and worst things about being a musician?
So the best, no, they're the worst things first. The worst things are is your mind. I think your own brain. Especially, it depends what sort of musician you are, I guess. Because I guess if you're like I can only speak from a musician. I'm not a great musician. You know, I play a bit of piano and guitar.
I disagree with that, but carry on.
No, but I think, you know, I think, but yeah, no. So, you know, I learned guitar and piano just for songwriting purposes, really, and just kind of play like chords and stuff. But you know, creatively, sometimes it's hard to live with your own brain because you know it's great for like thinking of new ideas, but also it comes with all the other stuff. So there's that side of stuff. Also, you know, the highs and the lows are really low when you're a musician. When, you know, when you play it, you've done gigs in the past in front of no one, or you know, having a song you release that no one listens to, or getting, you know, criticised. You know, that those lows are low. So, you know, I think the thing of a musician as well is with other forms of things, you don't see the bad things in public, but as a musician, a lot of the bad things are kind of broadcast. So like if you play a gig in front of no one, everyone can see you playing in front of no one. If you release a song that no one hears, you can see it's a song that no one cares about. If someone criticizes you, everyone can see the criticism. So all your kind of lows are kind of like presented online or in the real world. But in the positives are the highs are extremely high. So when you come across that one person who like really vibes your song when they cover your song, aka, you know, yourself.
Oh yeah, I did do that. I remember that.
Or you see someone like say that song touched them in a certain way. Like there's no greater feeling because it feels like it validates what you're doing. And then you've played a great gig in front of loads of people where they'll sing your songs back at you. Like those highs are they're like, it makes you realise, you know, when after playing, you know, Shea Stadium, why, you know, Keith Richards went and did like loads of cocaine or something, because like, how can you match that high? You know, you can see why musicians do drugs, because it's just like the highs are so high, real life can't match those highs. So yeah, you know, and also just, you know, it's great having something to kind of pour emotions into. So like writing songs and stuff, you know, it's so great. It's so much fun to write songs with, you know, people you respect. It's like being in a band with people you love and being able to like write songs and kind of share that sort of bond is just amazing. So yeah, like the lows are very low and the highs are very high. And, you know, it's the path we pick.
I like that. Very poetic. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned about songwriting there, and obviously you mentioned a little bit earlier that it's kind of like a democracy as far as that's concerned too. But let's talk a little bit about your songwriting process as a band. Like, you know, for example, like, do you write the lyrics or does someone else write the lyrics? Who comes up with the riffs? Like, tell us how these songs come together as a band.
So it's a bit like it's a bit of a madhouse, really. Like, it's random every time. But I guess, like, a lot of, it depends. Like, a lot of songs have come out of us just jamming in a room, the four of us together, just playing, and suddenly Dow, who's our guitarist, starts playing some really cool riff, and we all just start playing along, and the song, we start having this really sort of like weird shape. We kind of like, carve out a really cool song. Because the actual song, I mean, I write all the lyrics. Like, I've written it, every word has been me, but that's mainly because the other three don't want to do it, which is fair enough. and I really enjoy writing lyrics. Like, I love writing lyrics. And for me, it's like, as a singer, the lyrics are like my instrument. When I'm singing, the words coming out of my mouth. So if I'm singing words that I've written, they're gonna resonate more because it's coming from me. But then, like, we found, especially in lockdown, we've had to change the way we write because obviously we couldn't meet up. So we songs like Velico were written on a computer, like,
wow,
down on Logic.
Okay.
And then, you remember, we go around each other's houses and start laying down different bits, and then we go to the studio and record it. So it's different every time, and then different members of the band come up with different riffs. Sometimes Dow, our guitarist, might come up with a riff. Sometimes our bass player Finn. Sometimes even Dave on drums has like guitar stuff or piano stuff, and we just kind of it comes from a different place every time. But lyrically, that's always me. But yeah, so it's a bit of a random one, really. We haven't really got a set way of doing things. It kind of just, some songs come out at 2 a.m. in a bedroom. Some songs come out, in a rehearsal room at, 10:30 in the morning. It's just, it depends on, where the sun is in the sky, really.
Do you have any tips you could give to aspiring songwriters?
Yeah, well, my big one is, I think the biggest enemy for all creative people is perfectionism. So we're always worried about, is this thing I'm doing really crap? And so one way I got over that, and because obviously perfectionism leads to writer's block. So the way I got over that was, I write a song every single day without fail. I cannot go to bed until I've written a song. That is the rule.
Wow!
In 2020, I've kept up, and I've got to have a recording on my phone from start to finish every day. And if I've had a busy day and I've got no time, I can't go to sleep because I've written this song. I've got to stay up and write the song. And if you do that, you might write over a month. You might write 30 songs over a month, like one song a day. And at 29, all 30 might be terrible, but the fact you've done it, you just get into the habit of writing. Writing songs is like a muscle. So for me, it's just like, keep training that muscle, and almost get comfortable with writing rubbish songs. I've written hundreds of rubbish songs, but if I write 50 rubbish songs but get one really good song, then I've achieved something. So my advice is, write every single day. Write every single day. That is the key. It's just that's the way to do it, in my opinion.
Incredible stuff, man. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I'm going to change gears a little bit here. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh, get your hair cut. No. Oh, God.
Bit mean.
Yeah. People on TikTok are very mean. Very mean.
Oh, that's true. Unrelenting.
And Instagram as well. But it's a hard one. There's been so many great bits of advice. I mean, one core bit of advice that I've received that I think is really key is, you've got to be unapologetically you. So don't change who you are. Don't put, something on for the cameras or other people. You've got to be you, because people see through bullshit. So you've got to be, we as a band embrace our weirdness. We embrace the fact that we're four complete losers who are like, trying to be the world's most uncool, we're trying to be cool by being the world's most uncool band. That's our goal. But you've got to be you. You've got to be completely honest. And people like that. And I think that is it. You've got to be authentic. You can't change for people. You've got to stick to who you are. I think that can apply to anything.
And what's the biggest life lesson that you've learned so far?
I think things take time. Patience. Patience. Things take time, and things, films and documentaries have pre-programmed us to feel like things happen very quickly, but they don't. Things take time, and you just got to be a bit patient and don't panic if things take longer than you think, because some things take 10 years, some things take 20 years, but you'll get there in the end, whatever the thing is. You've got to just be patient and just stick to what you're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And as we draw things to a close for today, do you have any upcoming projects or maybe some final thoughts that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Well, I don't know. It got very deep there, didn't it? Very deep.
I like that. I like to gauge the
what is
mindset.
Obviously you're a songwriter as well, aren't you? You write songs.
Yes. Yeah.
What is your advice for songwriters?
Oh, you're gonna flip the tables.
Yeah,
how the turntables?
I find songwriters fascinating, and they're everywhere. But when you come across another songwriter, it's always interesting because everyone's got their own process, and I'm always intrigued to ask songwriters the same question, like, what's your advice? What is the key to you to writing songs?
Well, I will say always have an app or paper or something on you at all times. The amount of times it's been like, I don't know, I'm walking somewhere and it's pissing it down with rain. I'm like, oh, I got this thing, and I need to get somewhere just so I can quickly type it and have it there. It's normally lyrics, but or 2 a.m. I can't stop thinking about it. Oh, I've got to write it down, But to be honest, for me, my kind of songwriting process has changed massively. It used to be write the lyrics first, then, either jam in a room, just like how you guys do, or jam myself as a solo artist. But now, totally different. I start jamming first. And if I like what I hear, I try to think about how it makes me feel. And then I just write some lyrics on the spot. But from advice, I mean, I think there is no right way to do it. I think you have to kind of, and I know it's a very nothing kind of response, but
no, not at all.
Well, what I mean is it's not very, it's the same old thing. You got to do it your way. You got to do what works for you.
But that is so true though. Like there's no rules that, you can't teach, you can only teach someone so much when it comes to writing songs. Like songwriting is so, it's such a personal thing, and it's so random. It's such a chaotic process that I think that, if people think, know that, and they go, yeah, just do it your own way. And yeah, definitely. Cause like, you got to do things your own way. You got to write songs your own way. So yeah, I think that's totally valid and totally not a nothing comment at all.
I think it applies to everything in life as well. I mean, when I look at everything that I do in my life, I've got my way of doing it. And the only time that I actually realize that it's either unique to me or it's maybe not like the conventional way is when I start talking to other people, because I don't often ask other people for advice. And that's not because I don't value other people's advice or anything. Part of it is stubbornness. I like to kind of figure things out on my own. Part of it is, I think the thing that I've realized about asking advice is that if you ask for advice, you may not like what you hear.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's the thing, because you're asking someone else, and be ready to be criticized. And criticism is not a bad thing. Obviously, the person giving you the criticism or the constructive criticism has they can do it nicely. Like, for example, I uploaded a video earlier and someone gave some constructive criticism. They said, oh, I feel that this isn't quite, they said, their exact wording was, hey, I don't know anything about music, but no offense, but it sounds a bit off, like tonal wise in places. But cheers. And then normally I don't respond, but because people were rude and nasty, but this person was just fair, like, fair enough. And I just said, music's subjective. I appreciate your comment. I said, yeah, basically like, thank you for not being rude. And then I kind of just went on to say like, maybe it sounds a bit different because this song is in, I don't know, it's normally sung in a lower key. I did it in a higher key. Maybe that's what you're hearing, but I'll keep it in mind because I think, you know, I'm always willing to take on constructive criticism. And I think everyone should be, you know, but I do think that's the thing. I think you have to learn how to take it on board, and it doesn't matter what anyone says. Everyone takes criticism personally, even if they've figured it out and they think, yeah, I can take it. As soon as you hear it, you're like,
Well, last year I made this TikTok about 80s bands. I wasn't digging at 80s bands. I was just making a joke about modern technology. The fact that with modern technology now, you can press one key and it like plays the whole song. But I made a joke about, you know, bands of the 80s be like, check out my new single, and press the key and plays the whole song. And I made it very clear that this is more of a comment on like a play on the stereotype and a play on the fact that modern technology is so, you know, crazy now. But people I got roasted. I got destroyed.
Wow.
And people took it very personally, and they were attacking the way I looked, my face, my teeth, my hair. I was getting, people. And even though like, it doesn't, in the long run, it doesn't bother me at all. But when you read, the first time you read it is like, you know, someone's, you know, you just rubbed your elbow on like a stinging nettle. It's like a little, okay. Ooh, it's a bit hot in here, isn't it?
You know, it's, I didn't actually think I would go on to this today, but you make a very good point. I actually had to delete, because I used to have YouTube Studio on my phone, and I deleted it because I was receiving so much hate that it was beginning to affect my mental health. Like I was, you know,
was that for a specific video? Was that for a specific video? Was that for like a certain video? Or was it like across a few?
Just videos? Across everything, you know, like people want to give their opinions, and I'm all for, you know, no censorship. You know, you say what you want. You know, you have your right. I also have the right to ignore your comment, you know, if it's rude, because, you know, here's the thing, like I'll respond to nice comments and I'll also respond to constructive criticism. If it's polite, I will respond to it, you know. Obviously it's a bit different if you have a video that has like thousands of comments. It's just impossible to keep up. But generally speaking, I don't get a lot of views, so I'm able to do that. And that's fine. But a lot of them were the sort of comments you're receiving, that, you know, just personal attacks, like, you know, this is trash, you're trash, cringe, you know. I've even had death threats a few times, you know. Someone
said the other day, when if I look like you, I'd kill myself.
Right, and you can't be saying stuff like that to people. Like you just, and it's the sort of thing that, you know, 99% of people would never have the guts to say that to your face. But I think that's the problem, like with us, like where we're quite active online continuously, and we're checking things, and we're checking it from a business standpoint. Like to be honest, if I wasn't a content creator, if I wasn't doing like pursuing acting, pursuing music, pursuing podcasting, if I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't have these social medias. You know, maybe I might have YouTube just to watch stuff, but I wouldn't have this stuff and I wouldn't be checking it. But because I have to for business, I obviously have to interact with comments, and inevitably you're going to see these comments, and I try to reduce it, you know, and people who give me nice comments and who support me, like my community, they always say like, oh, well, don't focus on that. You know, you've got maybe 15 comments that say something really nice. And it's like, yeah, but sometimes
you're only human at the end of the day.
Yeah, sometimes it's the first thing you see, or sometimes you release a video and all it gets are negative comments, and it just ruins your day, or it just makes you feel terrible. And, you know, I'm the sort of person like these things sit with me. Sometimes I can just be like, yeah, whatever. But like sometimes it sits with me, and it's like, it's interesting what you were saying about how they attack you personally sometimes, because I think with that, I've noticed it's a twofold thing. So if you're I don't think that should ever be something brought in. Like, even if you think someone's a piece of crap, you know, for their opinions, like maybe, I don't know, they're just a really horrible person. Oh, all right. But I've never understood like, oh, well, I'm just going to attack them personally, because, you know, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're making a horrible remark about this, so I'm going to attack your face. I don't get that. But that's just more like because it doesn't make sense. Like to me, for example, like because I hate confrontation, but in the few times that I've tried to like debate people online, like when they've disagreed with something, if they feel they're losing, always attack you. And as soon as it goes personal, I just stop responding. So I'm like, well, obviously this person is not to be taken seriously because they have to resort to attacks. And that you're no longer trying to get a point across or express a fair opinion. You're just trying to attack someone. But I think a bigger thing is that people just kind of like to bring people down. I don't know, maybe sometimes people want to bring people down a peg, or they're jealous, or, you know, whatever the case may be. I'll give you a really good example. I did a video. Basically, one of my friends from school is on the Apprentice right now.
Really?
The TV show. Yeah, it's good. It's good, isn't it? It's a good season. Like, I don't normally watch The Apprentice. I haven't watched it since the 2000s. But when I saw my friend on there, Akshay, who's on there.
Oh my God, Akshay!
He's a school friend of mine. Yeah, this is the funny thing. We were in business school together, like business class from GCSE to A level, and as soon as I saw him on it, I was like, this is the right choice. Like he was that person then. This is, you know. But anyway, I posted, because I've been following his whole journey and I've been covering it on my second TikTok account, you know, partly for fun, but also because I want to show support, and also because I'm actually quite invested in it. Like, just in general, like, you know, it went from just an initial, okay, I'm supporting my friend, to, oh yeah, no, I actually really wanted to win, and I've got a few other favorites and stuff. But I remember in the very first video that I did about him, where I said like, oh, I went to school with him, blah, blah, blah. I tried not to make it a lot about me. I tried to kind of think about the things that he'd said to me back then, and that the way he was, because obviously, you know, 10 years is a long time. Like, things change, you know, and obviously he's a man now, a successful business owner and stuff. And most of the comments were just interesting. There's a few people like joking, like, yeah, he's not going to win. And that's fine. But there was one person who said something like, let's be honest, something like, he did better than you. Something like that. Like, you're like, he's successful in life and you're not, kind of thing. And at first I was really tempted to just do a response video, but I held against it, held off. Sometimes I think about it now and I'm like, oh, I'd love to have like that successful moment where I could tag that comment and be like, look at me now. And who knows, maybe that day will come. I don't know. But it kind of, and it's stupid because it's just, you know, same old, no profile, no name person. And, you know, but sometimes you see those things and it's like, geez, I was just like supporting my friend. Like, I'm not jealous of my friend. I'm really happy for it. To me, it feels like a family member has just done something huge. And, you know, I've been envious of the people around me that are more successful than I am. Like, I've got a few friends that are doing really well, some of whom are even famous now. Like, they're getting to that point. And, you know, of course I'm envious, but I'm not jealous of them, because that's just shit. Like, I think you got to be proud of the people around you and support their successes, and not be bitter or jealous, because it's just not nice to be like that. And, you know, like, everyone has a journey. Like, for example, I have no doubt in my mind that one day The Trusted is going to be a big band. Like, I think you're already getting there. I think it's just a matter of time. I really do. I really believe that. And inevitably, when that day comes, when, I don't know, maybe you sell your debut album, it goes huge, or I don't know, you hit all-time streams on spot, whatever that moment is, where, you know, because that moment will happen and your lives will go crazy, and suddenly you'll be, you know, things will just skyrocket. And there will be people that will say in the media, overnight success. That's something that they'll say. And you and the rest of the band will be like, well, I mean, we've been doing this since 2016. We know it's not like that. And you'll say that. But the story will be told, oh, 1 minute they're nobodies, the next minute they're something. And I've always taken exception with this, because, and, you know, I'm guilty of saying it myself, and I'm trying to change my attitude as far as talking about myself. Like, I've referred to myself as a nobody before, and I've had my community sort of be like, you shouldn't say that, that's bad to think that way. And it is. And I think you got to remember that success or no success, like, it's about doing what you're passionate about and loving what you do, and that being the focus, and that being the drive, and that being, you know what I mean? And like, who cares if you become successful or not? Like, there's people I've met who have been famous who really weren't that special, because at the end of the day, people are just people. If you become famous, you become successful, you're still
you're still the same person.
You're still a human being. I mean, fame can change people, and we've seen that time and time again, but you
don't get powers, you're still you're still just, you're still going to the toilet, you're still eating,
But that's food. The thing, I think a lot of people forget that. I think a lot of people look at that. Like, I think that commenter who said that to me, in their mind, they're like, oh, well, your friend's successful, but you're not. Like, imagine how you feel. And I'm like, I'm proud of him. I'm really happy. I'm excited for him. I'm like, wow, like, this is going to lead to this and this. And, like he's in the final 8 right now. And I'm just like praying that he gets through. And it's weird, because I remember remarking the first couple of weeks, like, hey, it's the first time in a long time that I've seen someone around me that is doing really, really well. And I'm super like excited for them. And I'm not thinking about myself or comparing to myself in any shape or form. I'm just purely just excited for them. And it reminded me, do you know what? That's how I should be for like everyone in my life, whatever their successes is, whatever they do. Like, that's how you should be for the people that you care about and the people around you. Like, celebrate their successes, because your time will come and then they will celebrate you.
Of course, exactly. And you come across as a better person as well, because it shows you that, you can do that. You can celebrate other people's successes, and you don't come across as a bitter person. That's really powerful, because it's when you see someone doing well, it's really easy to get angry. It's a lot harder to shake their hand and go, well done. That's hard to do that. It's really hard. It's really hard to look at someone in the eye and go, I'm proud of you, or, what you're doing is amazing. And it's really easy just to go, oh, they're just a, dickhead. They're up their own arse. They don't deserve this. That's easy. But to congratulate someone's it's hard. It's a lot harder. It takes a lot more strength to do that. So I think that, it takes a lot of balls to, go, yeah, actually, well done you. That's really powerful. And it pays off in the end, because people remember that. People do notice. People do remember these things. People do remember people saying that. And it always, in the end, people will remember that, and it will come back to you. Just like it'll come back and bite you if you're a dickhead.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
I think the problem is that your story, like the internet, gives people the ability to say nasty things about face. Everyone becomes, vigilante. They've all got masks on, and they can go out there and say whatever they want. And people know, they know what words to use and what to say to upset people. They know how to, that comment, and I've put not the exact comment, but saying like, the way that you said it, it's just worded in that right way. It's that right dig where it just hits the right buttons in your brain. It's very cleverly worded to make you feel a certain way. Because we all know that being told that person's doing better than you, it's like a different. It's in a way that's worse than someone saying you look ugly, because it's a more direct hit than just a very broad, you've got a big head,
Someone said that to me actually on one of my recent podcasts on my YouTube. They said like, why is your head shaped that way? And at first I was like, what the fuck? And then I just could not stop laughing. I thought that was hilarious. I was
we have the same, and that's our brand. I sign off a lot of like Instagram posts with love from the guy with the massive head. So, I got a brand outfit. My massive square head is now part of the trusted brand. So who's winning? Who's winning?
Oh, man. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And I wish you and the rest of the band all the success. I know you're gonna do big things in the coming years. And just thank you so much for being on the show. Sincerely appreciate it.
Keep the faith and keep doing what you're doing. It's really good stuff.
I will do. And to all those listening to the Christian Reeve podcast, make sure you go and check out The Trusted. I fully endorse them. And I think you're going to be in for a real surprise, a real treat. Thank you very much for listening to the Christian Reeve podcast. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you in the next one.